What is your English level? Let me start with a simple image that you can probably relate to. Imagine you're hungry and excited to try a new restaurant in your city. You heard that the food there is amazing and you can't wait to go. So you take out your phone, open a map, and get ready to find the place. Now, let me ask you a question. What is the very first thing you do on the map? Do you immediately search for the restaurant's address? Not really. Before you can find the restaurant, the map has to locate you. You need to know where you are right now. Without that, the directions won't make sense. Without that, the path to the restaurant is just a collection of confusing lines. Only when you know your current location can you see the best path to get to your destination. Learning English works in exactly the same way. Many learners make the mistake of jumping straight into studying vocabulary lists, grammar rules, or complicated exercises without first knowing their actual starting point. And the result? They get frustrated, they feel lost, and often they give up. But just like the map example, the first step is not about the destination. It's about the starting point. Before you know where to go, you must know where you are. If you want to get better at English, you need to identify your level clearly. Think of it as your "You are here" sign on the English learning map. Once you know your exact spot, you can plan your route forward with much more confidence and clarity. That is exactly what we are going to do together today. In this episode, I will guide you through a journey where you will discover your true English level. And don't worry, this is not about taking a boring exam with hundreds of questions or memorizing endless grammar charts. Instead, we'll use real examples, short stories written at different levels, and together we'll explore which one feels right for you. By listening carefully and reflecting on your own understanding, you'll be able to identify the level that matches you best. And here is the beautiful part. Once you know your level, learning becomes smarter, faster, and so much more enjoyable. So I want you to stay with me until the very end, because by the time we finish, you will not only have a clear picture of your English level, but you will also understand how to study in the most effective way possible. You will discover why some methods might have failed you in the past, and why using the right method for your level can change everything. By the end of this episode, you will not only know your level, but also know how to study smarter, save time, and enjoy the process of learning English in a whole new way. Why finding your level matters. Now, let's talk about something that almost every English learner has experienced at some point. That feeling of being stuck. You've been studying for months, maybe even years. You've read grammar books, you've memorized lists of vocabulary, you've watched movies or YouTube videos in English, and you probably understand quite a lot when you read or listen. But when the moment comes to actually open your mouth and speak, suddenly it feels like your brain is empty. The words don't come out. You freeze, you panic, and you feel disappointed in yourself. Many learners tell me that they understand English but cannot speak it, and this creates a very frustrating cycle. You keep asking yourself, why can I understand, but I still can't communicate the way I want? This frustration often grows because you feel like you're not making progress. Maybe you've studied English for years, but your level still feels the same. You try new apps, you watch videos, you practice for a while, but after some time you give up because nothing seems to really change. And this is where most learners get trapped. They are working hard, they are investing time and effort, but they are walking in circles. The problem is not their motivation. The problem is not their intelligence. The real problem is that they don't know their true starting point, and so they keep using the wrong method for their level. Think about it this way. Imagine again that you are holding a map. The map is full of roads, paths, highways, and destinations. But if you have no idea where you are standing right now, how can you possibly know which direction to take? You might choose a random road, but what if it leads you away from your goal? You might walk for hours and hours only to discover that you are lost, or that you've been moving in the wrong direction the whole time. This is exactly what happens to English learners who don't take the time to find their level first. They might be using a study book that is too advanced for them, filled with vocabulary and grammar they cannot really use yet. Or they might be stuck at a very basic method when their skills are actually ready for more challenge. Either way, they are walking on the wrong path. And when you walk the wrong path, you waste energy, you waste time, and worst of all, you lose motivation.
Here's another important point. Many learners believe that just working harder will fix the problem. They think, if I memorize more words, if I study more grammar rules, if I spend more hours watching English videos, then I'll improve. But if the method is wrong, it doesn't matter how much effort you put in. It's like driving a car with a broken compass. You can press the gas pedal, you can drive faster and faster, but if the direction is wrong, you are simply getting lost more quickly. The secret is not about speed. The secret is about orientation. First, you must know your position. Then, you can choose the correct direction and move forward with purpose. That is why identifying your English level is such a critical first step. When you know your level, you stop comparing yourself to other learners unfairly. You stop feeling guilty because you can't speak like a native or like someone who has been studying for 20 years. Instead, you start to focus on your own personal journey. You understand what skills you already have and what skills you still need to build. You recognize your strengths and you see clearly where to improve. And suddenly, learning English feels less like a heavy burden and more like a guided path. You know exactly what to do next, and that gives you confidence and motivation. So, let me set the stage for the rest of this episode. Your English journey truly begins with knowing your starting point. Without that knowledge, you risk wandering endlessly, always feeling stuck, always doubting yourself. But once you see your "You are here" sign on the English learning map, everything changes. From that moment, learning becomes logical, practical, and even enjoyable. You are no longer lost because you know where you stand and where you want to go. And today, we are going to find that starting point together.
Before we continue, let me tell you something very important. You understand English, right? But when it's time to speak, nothing comes out. The problem isn't grammar, it's practice. You just need more speaking practice. The truth is, if you don't use English, you'll never become fluent. With the English Conversation Guide, you practice real dialogues, introductions, travel, meetings, even small talk. With audio, you can repeat anytime, anywhere. Soon, your brain stops translating and starts thinking in English. That's when fluency happens. Think of it like a gym for your speaking muscles. A few minutes every day, and English starts to flow. Get the English Conversation Guide and finally speak with confidence. Let's talk about the system we are going to use to identify your English level.
This system is called the CEFR, which stands for the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages. Don't worry, you don't need to remember the full name, but what you do need to know is that the CEFR is a very clear way to describe language ability. It organizes English, and in fact many other languages, into 6 main levels, starting from A1, the most basic beginner level, all the way up to C2, the highest expert level. Each level represents not only the amount of vocabulary or grammar you know, but also the kinds of real-life situations where you can actually use English effectively. Let's begin at the very bottom with A1. A1 is the beginner stage. At A1, you can use very simple phrases and short sentences. You can say things like, "Hello, my name is," "I am from," or "I would like water, please." You can introduce yourself, you can ask basic questions, and you can understand very familiar words that you have heard many times before. Some people underestimate this level because the sentences are short and simple. But let me tell you, even A1 is powerful. If you are at this level, you already have the ability to travel. You can go to another country, order food at a restaurant, introduce yourself to new people, and even make new friends using the most basic English. That is something to be proud of. It's your very first step on the map. Now let's move up to A2. This is what we call the basic level. At A2, you can do more than just say hello. You can talk about your daily routine, your family, your job, your hobbies, and the things that you like or dislike. You can also handle simple situations when traveling, like asking for directions, booking a hotel, or shopping in a store. You might not understand every single word, but you can usually catch the main idea. In real life, this means you can survive quite comfortably in an English-speaking environment, even if you sometimes need help or repetition. Next, we arrive at B1, the intermediate level. Here, things start to get exciting. At B1, you can talk about past experiences, describe your plans for the future, and express your opinions about familiar topics. You can follow the main points in a conversation, even when people speak a little faster. At this level, you can travel almost anywhere in the world and communicate in English without too much difficulty. You can make small talk, share stories, and deal with most of the situations that life presents. For many learners, reaching B1 feels like true independence in English.
After that comes B2, the upper intermediate level. At B2, your English becomes much more natural. You can discuss a wide variety of topics with native speakers and understand them quite well, even when they are not speaking slowly. You can express complex ideas, you can participate in debates, and you can read and understand articles, stories, or news without too much effort. This is a very popular goal for English learners because B2 is the level where conversations start to flow smoothly. At this point, English no longer feels like a classroom subject. It becomes a real tool for communication, for making friends, for working, or even for studying abroad. Then we have C1, the advanced level. At C1, you can study at a university in English, you can work in professional environments, and you can deal with complex subjects. You're able to express yourself fluently and spontaneously without searching too much for words. You can write clear, detailed texts on a wide range of topics, and you can even adapt your language depending on who you are speaking to. People at this level are often seen as confident and professional in English. Finally, there is C2, the expert level. This is the highest level of mastery. At C2, you can understand virtually everything you hear or read in English. You can summarize information from different sources. You can present complex arguments clearly. And you can use language with precision, just like a native professor, a professional writer, or a speaker who has complete command of the language. Very few people reach C2, but it is not impossible. It simply requires time, effort, and a deep passion for using English in every area of life. Now, here is the most important message I want you to remember. Every single level is valuable. Too often, learners feel embarrassed because they are at A1 or A2 and they think they are not good enough. But that is not true at all. A1 is not failure. A1 is the beginning. A2 is not weakness, it is progress. B1, B2, C1, and C2 are not better identities. They are just different stages of the same journey. And the wonderful thing about learning a language is that progress is always possible. You don't stay stuck in one place forever. With the right approach, you can always move forward. So whether you are an A1 beginner or a C1 advanced learner, I want you to feel encouraged. You are already on the map, and that is what matters. You're not outside the map. You are not lost. You are already walking the path. And even if you are only at the very beginning, remember this: even A1 is powerful. With just a few simple words, you can open doors. You can connect with people from different cultures, and you can create friendships that last a lifetime. That is the magic of English, and that is why every step, no matter how small, deserves to be celebrated.
C2, expert. Now let's begin with the highest possible level of English, the C2 level. Imagine I am reading you a passage that could appear in an academic article or a professional opinion piece. Listen carefully. While globalization has indisputably accelerated economic interdependence, it has simultaneously intensified sociocultural tensions, necessitating a reevaluation of how nations negotiate identity in an increasingly interconnected world. Did you notice how dense and heavy that sentence felt? This is the reality of C2 English. At this level, people use advanced vocabulary, long and layered sentence structures, and subtle expressions that require not only knowledge of words, but also a very strong ability to follow abstract ideas. This is the English of professors giving lectures at international conferences, lawyers writing formal legal arguments, or professional writers creating articles for highly educated audiences. C2 is not about big words only. It's about flexibility, precision, and the ability to express anything in English, no matter how detailed, technical, or philosophical it may be. It's also important to mention that while many learners dream of reaching this level, it is not necessary for everyone. C2 is like mastering the art of English to a degree that allows you to write novels or participate in academic debates. If that is your goal, wonderful. But if not, don't worry. Fluency and confidence can be achieved at lower levels too. C1, Advanced. Now let's move slightly down to C1, which is still an extremely high level of English. Here is a passage that represents this level. In order to thrive in today's global marketplace, companies must not only innovate rapidly, but also foster a culture of collaboration and continuous learning among employees. Compared to the C2 passage, the sentence is still complex, but slightly less dense. At C1, learners can read and understand complex texts, follow extended conversations, and express themselves fluently in academic and professional contexts. This is the level of people who attend international universities, work in multinational companies, or deliver presentations in English. What defines C1 is the ability to handle abstract and technical topics while still keeping speech natural and flexible. For example, in real life, a C1 speaker could explain a business strategy to colleagues, argue about global issues in a university class, or write a detailed report for work. You don't need to sound like a poet or philosopher, but you do need to think critically and organize your ideas in English with confidence. At this stage, learners often stop translating in their heads and begin to think in English. That's a huge step because it allows communication to flow naturally. C1 is often the level required for international jobs and study abroad programs, making it a very practical goal for ambitious learners.
B2, Upper Intermediate. Now, let's step into the world of B2, also known as the Upper Intermediate level. Imagine I'm reading you a short passage at this stage. Over the past few years, social media has completely transformed the way we communicate. While it allows us to stay in touch with friends and family across the world, it also raises questions about privacy and the quality of our relationships. Many experts suggest finding a balance between online and offline interactions. This passage is natural, clear, and detailed, yet it's not overwhelmingly complex. The sentences are longer than what you'd find at a beginner level, but they are still very manageable for learners who have built a solid foundation. At B2, you can follow conversations with native speakers without them having to slow down significantly. You can watch movies, listen to podcasts, or participate in group discussions and understand most of what is being said. Think of B2 as the conversation goal for many learners. At this level, you can express opinions, argue your point of view, and respond naturally in real time. You don't always have to stop and think too much before speaking, which gives you confidence in daily interactions. Imagine traveling abroad and meeting new people at a cafe or during a tour. Instead of struggling to find words, you can actually connect, laugh, and share stories in English. B2 is that sweet spot where learning feels rewarding because you are finally able to live real experiences through the language, not just study it. B1, Intermediate. Now, let's move slightly lower to B1, the intermediate level. Listen to this passage. Last summer, I traveled to Spain with my family. We visited Barcelona, Madrid, and Seville. The weather was hot, but we enjoyed walking around the cities and trying traditional food. My favorite moment was visiting the Sagrada Familia. It was beautiful. This passage is simpler, with shorter sentences and everyday vocabulary, but don't underestimate B1. At this level, you can talk about your life, your past experiences, your future plans, and your daily routines. You can go on trips, book a hotel, order food in restaurants, and describe your opinions in basic ways. You can communicate with people in most travel or social situations, even if you sometimes need to pause to find the right words. B1 is practical. It's the level where English really starts to serve your daily life. You're no longer limited to introductions or asking for directions. You can actually share stories, explain what you think, and understand the main points when people talk to you. Many learners reach B1 and already feel a huge difference because English begins to open doors, whether for travel, work, or building friendships. It's a level of independence where you can stand on your own 2 feet in English, even if you're not yet fluent.
A2. Basic. Now let us move to level A2, which is known as the elementary or basic user stage. At this level, learners are beginning to handle everyday situations with a little more independence. For example, imagine being in a restaurant abroad and saying, "Excuse me, can I have chicken with rice, please? I don't eat fish." Or perhaps while traveling, "I need to go to the train station. Can you help me find the way?" These are short, simple sentences, but they are practical and highly useful. An A2 learner may also say something like, "Yesterday, I went shopping with my friend. We bought clothes, and then we had pizza. It was fun." Notice how the sentences are not very complex, but they allow the learner to share personal experiences and connect with others. At this level, communication is possible even if mistakes happen. Grammar is not perfect, but the learner is building the confidence to express themselves. Think of A2 as a toolkit that allows you to survive and enjoy basic interactions in English. You can book a hotel room, ask for directions, introduce yourself, talk about your family, and describe your routine. That is already a big achievement. Many learners underestimate this stage, but without A2, you cannot move to the more fluent levels. It is like learning to walk before you run. Every word spoken at this stage represents progress and an essential step forward. So, if you are an A1 learner, take pride in your progress. You have already started the most important part of the journey, the first step.
Now that we have explored the CEFR levels through real passages, it is time to pause and reflect. This is perhaps one of the most important moments in your English journey because awareness of your own level is the first step toward growth. I want you to think carefully as I read through the different passages. Which one felt most comfortable to you? Did you feel completely confident with the C1 or C2 examples? Or did you notice that your mind was working harder around B2 or B1? Maybe you felt most at ease with the A2 or A1 examples, and that is perfectly fine too. Remember, this podcast is not about comparison with others, but about understanding where you are today, so you can decide where you want to go next. Take a moment to ask yourself, which passage did I understand without difficulty? Which one challenged me but still felt possible? Which one felt overwhelming or confusing? These reactions are valuable clues. They reveal not only your current comfort zone, but also the edges of your growth zone, the area where real learning happens. For example, if you felt completely confident with the B1 passage but struggled with B2, that means your growth zone is right at the bridge between intermediate and upper intermediate. This is where you should focus your practice in the coming months. I encourage you to grab a notebook or open the Notes app on your phone and write down your reflections. Do not simply think about them, record them. When you write, you transform vague feelings into concrete information that you can return to later. Write something like, I felt comfortable with B1, I struggled with B2, and C1 felt too advanced. This small act of journaling gives you a clear map of your learning journey. And 6 months from now, you will be able to look back and see your progress. It's important to stress that every single level is meaningful. A1 is not nothing. At A1, you can already introduce yourself, say where you're from, order food in a restaurant, or greet a new friend while traveling abroad. That is powerful. At A2, you can talk about your family, your daily routine, or describe your city to someone who has never visited. That is real communication. At B1, you can handle travel situations, share your opinions on familiar topics, and connect with people at a deeper level. At B2, you can join real conversations with native speakers, watch movies without subtitles, or give a presentation at work. And at C1 and C2, you are functioning in the language like a true professional or academic, expressing subtle ideas with precision. Every step is a victory, and every level is a new door that opens.
Now, here is something I want you to really understand. Language learning is not a race. It's not about reaching C2 as fast as possible, nor is it about comparing yourself to others. It is about communication, connection, and growth. If today you are at A1, celebrate it. You are standing on the foundation of your future fluency. If you are at B1, celebrate it. You have reached a stage where English can already serve you in daily life. If you are at B2, celebrate it. You are approaching the level where native speakers will talk to you as an equal. And if you are at C1 or C2, celebrate it as well. You have worked hard, but there is still refinement and elegance to be gained. Every level has beauty. As you reflect, I encourage you to set a small, personal goal. Not, I want to reach C1 in 6 months, because that can feel overwhelming and unrealistic. Instead, set goals like, I want to be able to order food confidently in English. Or, I want to talk about my hobbies with a native speaker for 5 minutes. Or, I want to watch a short video without subtitles and understand 70%. These goals are concrete, motivating, and achievable. Over time, as you check them off one by one, you will naturally climb from one level to the next. Finally, let me reassure you of one thing. Wherever you are right now, it is enough. You are not behind. You are not failing. You are simply on your journey. And the fact that you are listening to this podcast already proves that you are serious about improving. Growth in language, just like growth in life, happens one step at a time. So take a deep breath, reflect honestly, write down your feelings, and embrace your current level with pride. Because no matter if it is A1 or C2, it represents progress, effort, and possibility. And the next step is always waiting for you. How to study according to your level. One of the most common mistakes English learners make is trying to study with the wrong method for their current level. Imagine a beginner opening a Shakespeare play. It would feel overwhelming, frustrating, and almost impossible to follow. On the other hand, an advanced learner who spends all their time repeating, "Hello, how are you? I'm fine, thank you," will never grow. The secret to fluency is aligning your study methods with your exact level, so every step you take feels achievable, motivating, and powerful. Let's go level by level and see what works best for each stage of learning. If you are at A1, beginner, your main focus should be on vocabulary building and survival English. Think about greetings, numbers, days of the week, and essential travel expressions such as ordering food, asking for directions, or introducing yourself. At this stage, it's not about being perfect. It's about being understood. You should practice speaking short phrases out loud every single day, even if you are just talking to yourself. Flashcards, simple apps, and repeating words while pointing at objects around your house can be extremely helpful. The key is confidence, not correctness. Remember, every word you learn is like laying a brick for your foundation. Without this strong base, you can't build anything higher. When you reach A2, basic, you should push yourself to connect those words into longer sentences. Instead of saying only, "I like pizza," you should learn how to say, "I like pizza because it reminds me of my childhood," or "I usually eat pizza with my friends on the weekend." The focus here is on familiar topics: family, hobbies, work, and your daily routine. Journaling becomes a powerful exercise. Write 1 or 2 short paragraphs every day about what you did, what you are planning to do, or how you feel. Listening practice is also crucial. Watch cartoons, listen to songs with simple lyrics, or follow short podcasts made for learners. This is the stage where you begin to communicate in small conversations, and every little victory will make you feel more motivated to keep going. At B1, intermediate, practicality takes center stage. You already know the basics, so now you must practice sharing experiences, traveling with confidence, and discussing topics in more detail. Conversations should no longer be about memorized sentences, but about expressing your real thoughts and opinions. For example, instead of just saying, "I went to the park yesterday," you can say, "I went to the park yesterday and I really enjoyed the fresh air and the beautiful scenery, but it was a little crowded." At this level, you should challenge yourself with short texts, like writing emails, comments on social media in English, or small stories. Listening should also grow more complex. Try TED Ed videos, simple news articles read aloud, or even English YouTubers who speak clearly. B1 is the bridge to true fluency, and if you push yourself here, you will start to sound natural.
B2, upper intermediate, is often considered the conversation goal for many learners. It's the point where you can sit at a table with native speakers and actually follow and participate in the conversation without too much stress. The focus here should be debates, opinions, and connecting with natives whenever possible. You should read articles, magazines, and even books that interest you, not only to improve your vocabulary, but also to expose yourself to natural sentence structures. Start practicing writing essays or giving short presentations, even if it's just recording yourself on your phone.
Online communities, language exchanges, and discussion groups are especially valuable at this stage because they give you real interaction. The more you talk, the faster you break the barrier between student English and real-world English. At C1 Advanced, you are no longer limited to everyday English. This is where you step into the world of academic, professional, and sophisticated communication. If you're a student, it means you can follow university lectures in English, write research papers, and present your work. If you're a professional, it means you can negotiate, lead meetings, and write reports without major difficulty. The best way to grow at this stage is to focus on advanced writing, opinion pieces, essays, and professional emails, and to refine your listening with podcasts, documentaries, and debates. Pay attention not only to what people say, but how they say it. Intonation, rhetorical devices, and subtle choices of words. This level is about precision and impact. Finally, C2 Expert is the stage of mastery. At this point, your English is close to that of an educated native speaker. But mastery does not mean perfection. It means refinement. The way to keep improving is to engage with literature, philosophy, and high-level discussions. Read novels, biographies, and essays written in rich, complex English. Practice nuanced communication, where you don't just say something, but you say it with elegance, subtlety, and cultural awareness. You may never need this level in everyday life, but if your goal is excellence, this is where you'll shine. Professors, professional writers, and diplomats often operate here because their work requires not just clear communication, but persuasive and powerful expression. So, here's the big lesson. The wrong method equals wasted energy, but the right method equals faster fluency. If you are at A1 and you try to debate politics in English, you will only feel frustrated. If you are at C1 and you only study "the cat is on the table," you will not grow. Fluency is not about how many years you have studied. It's about whether you are studying in the right way for your level. Align your practice with your stage, and you will see faster, stronger, and more enjoyable progress.
As we come to the end of today's episode, let's take a moment to look back at the path we have walked together. We began with a simple but powerful analogy. Learning English is like entering a restaurant and discovering that every table represents a different level. Some of you may still be near the entrance, looking around and deciding where to sit, while others are already in the middle of lively conversations at another table. Each table, each level, tells us something about where we are today, but also where we can go tomorrow. We explored the journey from the first steps of ordering a meal in English all the way to confidently holding deep discussions with native speakers. Along the way, we used real examples, short passages, and relatable scenarios so that you could feel, not just understand, the difference between one level and the next. You were invited to test yourself, to reflect, and to ask, which passage felt most comfortable for me? Which one felt challenging but exciting? And which one felt completely out of reach for now? That reflection is not a test to pass or fail. It is a mirror that shows you your current stage, your strengths, and the areas where you can grow. Remember, every learner, whether beginner or advanced, is still on the path. Progress is not about comparing yourself to someone else,
but about taking the next small step forward. Even if you are just starting out at the A1 level, your decision to listen, learn, and practice is already a victory. Even if you are at the advanced levels, refining your skills means you are sharpening your tools for greater opportunities. Every step is a step closer to fluency. Now here's something important. Your fluency does not start tomorrow, it does not start next month, and it does not wait for the perfect day when you have more time or more resources. It starts today, right now, with the action you just took by listening, by reflecting, by practicing even a few sentences. Fluency is not a sudden miracle. It is the accumulation of daily choices, of repetition, of courage to try again. The fact that you are here, giving your time to grow, shows that your journey has already begun in a serious way. So let this be your motivation. Keep practicing. Keep repeating the examples. Keep listening and reading together. Use what you learned today to create small daily habits. Speak out loud, even if you are alone. Write a short reflection in English at the end of the day. Record your voice and listen to yourself. The more you expose yourself to the language, the more natural it becomes. Do not wait for permission. Do not wait for the right moment. You already have everything you need to move forward. And as we close, I want to leave you with a small teaser for the next episode. Today, we focused on helping you discover your level and understand the path ahead. But next time, I will share with you the best study plan for your level. Whether you are a beginner, intermediate, or advanced learner, you will get a clear roadmap with practical steps so that your study time is not wasted but invested. We will explore strategies, daily routines, and powerful techniques that match exactly where you are right now, so you can grow faster and with more confidence. Until then, remember, your journey to fluency is not tomorrow, it is today. And with every word you speak, every sentence you practice, and every moment you invest, you are writing your own success story in English.